Hey, True Believers, England Teen here with another first appearance. We're going to be looking at Gravedigger, the Ulysses Hazard version of Gravedigger. There were two others, Perseus Hazard and Tyson Sykes. We're going to be looking at the one that started off in Men of War #1 from August of 1977, created by David Michelin and Ed Davis. I'm excited because the only experience or the only encounter I've had with this character was in Black Lightning, the TV show. He was played by Wayne Brady. So I'm really looking to see what kind of character they looked at and went, you know what, Wayne Brady. Yeah, we're going to get him to play him. So kick back, relax, and enjoy as we delve into Men of War #1. If I'm being honest, not the biggest fan of the cover. I think it's kind of, I don't know, pedestrian. I don't think this would stand out from the other books that were created back in the day. It looks, it's not bad, it's just very average. The comic book opens on a splash page. We see three men hunkered down in a foxhole. It looks like just a bombed out city. Rockets are firing, or the explosions are going off, bullets are flying around everywhere, and we get the introduction to the character. Handler of the Dead, a rather ignoble position for a man soon to become legend, but then no one ever said that war is long on logic. Just ask Ulysses Hazard, a man who had to fight not only the enemy but his own country to earn the codename Gravedigger. So we see the three men. That one mentions how, hey, Graves registration was supposed to be easy. They just come in after the fighting is done and bury the bodies. And then we hear one guy say, well, I guess someone forgot to tell the Nazis, Bogan, because if those shells get any closer, they're going to be burying us. So Sykes says that the army should have given them guns instead of shovels so they could help take the city. And Bogan makes a joke about how the army doesn't want to give black people any guns, definitely in World War II, I guess. And that they would end up shooting their toes off. And he's joking all throughout, but trust me, this would not fly. The word used in that middle panel would definitely get this book banned and probably canceled. And then they hear a scream. And we see Sykes say, it came from that farmhouse, and unless my ears are bucking for a Section 8, that was a woman's voice. And Bogan says, so what, Sarge, we're non-combatants, remember? And as he's saying, let the real soldiers do that, we see Sykes run out of the foxhole and head towards the house. Cut to inside the house where we see a couple of Nazis. They're really threatening a family, saying that, oh, the scream was foolish and that would prove disastrous not only to our radio operations but to your family as well. And I guess one of the woman who screams, spits in his face. And other Nazi guy says, oh, Gruber, it seems the girl is somewhat lacking in manners. Yeah, I know. Germans don't have Scottish accents, and that wasn't a great Scottish accent. I really can't do a German accent. That's why it sounded like that. And then we see Sykes outside the window, perhaps Herr Gruber, but then, perhaps not. And Gravedigger jumps through the window, smacking one Nazi in the head with a shovel, the other one tripping, losing hold of his gun. Amerikaner, the German yells. Yeah, but he is alone and a Schwarz as well. And we find out Schwarz means black. This shouldn't take long, the Nazi says, grabbing onto a knife. But Gravedigger pretty much makes short work of him. You're right, pal, it shouldn't. And he kind of, elbows him in the jaw. Gravedigger takes out the Nazi that came at him with a knife. The other one picks up his gun. Your fancy tricks might save you from a knife, you bobbing baboon. Damn! They're Nazis. They're gonna say and do evil things. Don't blame me for this. They're Nazis, okay? I didn't write this book. The bad guys are saying all of this stuff. But we do see that the Gravedigger was able to dodge the Nazis' bullets. And then he grabs a scythe, or at least he already had the scythe in his hands, and just apparently cuts him nuts to neck, I guess. Nope, my bad. Looks like the Nazi's putting up a fight. But Gravedigger gets the better of the Nazi, knocking him down, saying, hey, you're going to be eating the next few meals through a tube. But the other Nazi wakes up, draws his gun, he's about to fire when Andy crashes through wherever he crashed through, and knocks the guy out with a shovel to the head. Just then an officer comes in, and judging by the dialogue, I can only assume that his name is Honky McGee, because he immediately turns to the family and says they handled those Kraut surprisingly well, And then when one of the soldiers tries to say, hey, it wasn't them, it was... The officer shuts him down pretty quickly, saying, you know, I'm not going to have you insulting these people's courage. And the guy's like, Lieutenant. And Gravedigger says, that's okay, Andy, he just doesn't understand. And the lieutenant says, oh, I understand, Sergeant, only too well. Now take this man and return to your duties at once, or I'll have you both up on charges of subordination. Is that clear? And Gravedigger says, yeah, it's clear. And the guy reminds him he's talking to Officer Honky McGee. And the guy says, I said it was clear, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after the initial action scene, Marvel usually likes to give us an origin story. And here we find out that Gravedigger was a kid with polio and decided, since he was taking crap from everybody no matter the color, he would do his best to make sure he was as normal as possible and force himself to walk. But he just didn't teach himself how to walk. He taught himself how to shoot, how to become the greatest soldier he could ever think of or ever be. And because, of course, he was black, he ended up being on latrine duty and then put on a non-com mission of taking care of the dead bodies. To which his little sidekick Andy there says, well, you know, it ain't all that bad because all you got to dig through is dirt. The next morning, 600 hours, as the grim cleanup begins, we see everybody digging up, well, not digging up, but burying bodies. Lieutenant says, it's a shame to put all these fine fighting men in such shoddy graves, but the Krauts are on the move again, and the time is up. But before he gets his sentence out, one of his men spots a plane coming. The lieutenant screams, yeah, while the guy says, Lieutenant, get down. We see bullets whipping around him. Nazi buzzard coming around to pay us back for rousting their infantry yesterday. The lieutenant assesses the situation. Blast it, there's no cover for 100 yards. If that Stuka makes another pass, we've had it. We see Gravedigger stand up. Don't count your tombstones for their planted, Lieutenant. We still got a chance, he says as he picks up a bazooka. What? With a bazooka? But no one could hit a moving plane with a bazooka. You're crazy, Hazard. So Gravedigger, while bullets are flying around him and he has no time to aim, lifts the bazooka up, says, maybe I am crazy, Lieutenant, but I'm also... And he fires the bazooka for whoosh. Damn good. Blafoom. We see as a big explosion goes over their heads. And Gravedigger's feeling good about And Gravedigger's feeling good about himself, saying, well, what do you know? I did it. You hear that, Andy, old buddy? And he looks and he sees that Andy is dead. My guess it's because you just rained fire and metal above everybody with all the gasoline and the shrapnel that's flying around from shooting a freaking bazooka into an airplane that's right over your heads. Not to mention that the fact that the shot was going to be bullcrap. But we see the lieutenant standing over Gravedigger saying, I'm sorry about your buddy, Sergeant, if there's anything I can do. And Gravedigger says, yeah, Lieutenant, there's something you can do. You could transfer me to a combat unit so I could do what I joined up to do, so I can help end this war a little sooner, and so there'll be a few less Andys to bury. And the lieutenant kind of recoils and says, I'm afraid that's out of the question, Sergeant. A matter of policy, you understand. And Gravedigger's mad now and says, what I understand, Lieutenant, is that a man saved your life. You owe him. And the lieutenant says, I realize that, Sergeant, and you may rest assured that I'll have the highest commendation sent to his surviving relatives. Now I'll leave you to finish up here. I'm sure you know what to do. And Gravedigger carries his friend Andy, saying, yeah, Lieutenant, I know exactly what to do. It is said that it took but a single straw to break the proverbial camel's back, and we see a guy looking in on Sergeant Hazard, not finding him. Reveille, Sarge. Time to get up, Sarge. But in the case of Sergeant Ulysses Hazard, it took a weight of considerably greater proportions. Something wrong, Turner? The lieutenant asks. Thought I heard something, sir, but I guess it was just a rat, this other Honky McGee says about the black guy. A weight born of 2 decades of frustration, intimidation, and anger. The pressures from which are only now about to find release, and we see somebody sneaking onto a boat with a grenade he's juggling. Well, Ulysses, my boy, you tried it their way, and all it got you was dishpan hands and a bunch of dead friends. So if those blue-nosed bureaucrats won't listen when I tell them what I could do, then by God, I guess I'll just have to show them. And we see he's going into the Pentagon that apparently he can just walk up to while juggling a grenade. But show them what? Find out in 1 month as the origin of the man called Gravedigger concludes with 5-walled war. All right, there you go, gang. The very first appearance of Gravedigger from Men of War #1 from 1977. First time I've read the book. It was all right. It was okay. It didn't blow me away. There were a few things I had questions with. Um, but overall, I mean, bazooking an airplane, ridiculous. The fact that, yes, if you do overhead, gas and fire and all kinds of crap are going to be landing on you that they didn't touch upon. But it's all right. It was a good story. I did enjoy it on certain level. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to click like and share and do all that kind of stuff. If you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Ko-Fi. There's a link in the description below. Drop $1 in the till. It's like a little tip. I appreciate everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers out there who still love comics and believe in the back issues, gang. Thank you very, very much for watching.